Find your flow, follow the map. Mile high dreaming's got your back. Denver skies, trailhead pride. This is your moment.
So my name is David Carnes. 19 years ago, in a couple of months, I founded a consulting shop called OpFocus. Salesforce was really simple back then. And it's kind of funny that we were offering consulting on something so simple. But it's really changed a lot. So somehow 20 years later, it's a pretty amazing thing. To share a little bit about myself, I hosted a group called Dashboard Dojo for 4 years. Has anybody ever attended a Dashboard Dojo or seen? Okay, very cool. Glad to see it. So I have over 40 hours of recordings at dashboarddojo.com about me just talking about all different things about reporting. And interestingly, my favorite tech book publisher in the world, O'Reilly, reached out and said, "Hey, you seem to like this stuff. Would you write a book about it?" So that was pretty awesome. For me, that was as if Harvard or MIT said, "Would you teach a class?" And I couldn't say no. So anyway, there's a lot going on in the Salesforce world. So I know you guys read the release notes religiously, cover to cover, 3 times a year. What are we up to, 800-900 pages, something like that? So there's a lot going on. Reporting is in the category of, it's a mature part of the platform, but Salesforce is pressing forward in new ways. So there's stuff to talk about. And lo and behold, we have a brand new release coming out. The release notes came out yesterday. So I've added some things to this presentation. I'm going to have to talk quickly because I've got 4 releases of stuff to cover. But what I want to talk to you about is how to stay on top of new releases. It's something we can absolutely do, and you can tinker when the new releases come out. So we'll talk about that. And then specific features. There's updates to dashboards. There's updates to email subscriptions. There's new things around, custom report types has been completely overhauled. So a lot to talk about there. There are little things with ordering of report data within charts or the ordering of legends. So both on report charts and on dashboard widgets as well. We're in the ChatGPT era. We have Agentforce now available when writing formulas. Has anybody tried that yet? Has anybody written a formula with Agentforce? Okay, so I'm going to show you sort of my initial feelings on it. Which are not as warm and fuzzy as they probably could be, but I'm probably doing something wrong. Reporting on Data Cloud has been probably the biggest area the last couple of years that Salesforce has focused on. In fact, when I wrote the book in chapter 1, I said, Salesforce reports and dashboards are great, but they're limited in scope to what's in Salesforce. So you need to go get a BI tool like a Tableau, or there's many of them out there, to report on data from Salesforce and data from other systems and put it together. And of course, the next release, I was made a liar because Salesforce started rolling out reporting on Data Cloud. And that has been the big focus the last year, has been playing catch up with reporting on Data Cloud specifically. Do any of you work with Data Cloud? Okay, that's not very many, but there is reporting available to you, just regular old Lightning reports and dashboards, but there are some differences. So one of the features that I'm most excited about, so anytime we get any ability to filter in a new way, super happy about that. So one of them that is available now on reporting on Data Cloud, but I was hoping would be in this release notes yesterday for regular reporting, is the ability to filter on aggregates. So that is like, show me all of the contract stage opportunities, or show me all of the groupings that have over $1 million. So show me all of the stages. So you have a report grouped by stages, and I just want to see the stages where there's over $1 million in pipeline. So we can't do that currently, except it's now available on Data Cloud, and my hope is in the next release that we get it in standard reporting. So in the Winter 26 release, we have some new things. The ability to have reference lines on dashboard widgets. There's a translation workbench update. If any of you have users in other countries and you're trying to support them the best you can with different language labels, the metadata labels on things, we now have the ability to do custom language translations for report and dashboard tabs, for those tabs. So there's a couple of other things. Let's actually dive right in. And the first thing is, like, how do you stay on top of a new release? So I've worked in software for my whole career. I worked for 3 software companies before I started my company. And I've never seen a company do a better job with release notes and with release rollouts. So the release notes tend to be updated the minute the release is live. Like, that's unheard of, at least in my experience. And even beyond that, we have the ability to start playing months before the release comes out. So a week ago, the pre-release org for Winter 26 were made available. And we have this wonderful week where we can sort of hunt around for treasure before the release notes are unveiled. And for a few years, that was like my joy, was to literally just, fire up like the minute they were available and just start tinkering and look for things that I had never seen before. And then tweet out, ooh, I think this is how this thing works. And then you'd wait a week later, the release notes would be unveiled, and I'd say, oh, okay, I got that one wrong, but this other one I think I got right. So the pre-release orgs, I signed up for one. I'll show it to you today. They're available for 30 days. So it's a trial org, and it's just a nice way to get in and play well before the release comes out. There are also dev orgs that are available. You can keep a dev org forever as long as you log out every so often. Certainly on Trailhead, but probably the best way to get in and comfortable with a new release is to just play. So I like thinking of it as play, because somehow we all stopped playing. I don't know when we were 12 or something, but it's the way to get good, especially at reports and dashboards, is to play. One other plug, since we have an admin evangelist here, is that the admin team does a wonderful job with their release readiness. So they have webinars, they have blog articles. There's lots of help to help us embrace the new functionality that's rolled out. So within the release notes, the many, many hundreds of page release notes, there's always a section for analytics, and then there's a section for reports and dashboards with a list of things. Now, specifically with reports and dashboards, many of the things that are talked about are beta, and you may need to check a box to turn on the feature. I know it's hard, or you may need an admin to do it if you're not an admin. Some of the beta features actually require that you log a case with Salesforce, and they'll turn it on for you. But it can be nice to just try things out before they're generally available. Okay, so let's dive into the features. So the first one, I don't know that I was like waiting for this enhancement, but I can see a use for it. So for years, we've had a refresh button on dashboard, and it refreshes the entire dashboard. And depending on the complexity of the dashboard and how many other refresh requests have been made, it could take a minute or two for that to refresh. What Salesforce has given us in a recent release is the ability to click this little refresh icon up here in the top right and just refresh one of the widgets on the dashboard. Now, I think in the early years, the Born on Budweiser date up here, the as of July 16th, that last refresh, it took a while to convince executives that they really needed to look at that, because they'd come in and they'd be ready to run their leadership team meeting, and they're, oh my goodness, what happened, right? And they're looking at week-old data or month-old data, or God forbid, year-old data, because nobody'd refresh the dashboard. Well, we could get into that situation where most of the things on the dashboard haven't been refreshed, but one of them has been refreshed. You just want to keep that in mind. And I'm showing it here that I've got a screenshot that says July 16th for the overall dashboard refresh, but this widget over here was refreshed on the 17th. And there's no setup for that. It's just already available. Another one that we've had for cases for years and other features within Salesforce is the ability to have a subscription sent from one particular email address. So this is available now for both reports and for dashboards, and you could have a analytics email address that everything gets sent out from. So this is another one that I wasn't really waiting around for, but I can see maybe in large organizations that rather than having it come from Larry in accounting or from Sally, the sysadmin, that we have it come from some generalized address. So what we can see here in setup under feature settings, analytics, reports and dashboards, report and dashboard settings is that there are two checkboxes. So one says enable org-wide email address for report subscriptions. The next one says enable org-wide email address for dashboard subscriptions. Before you do this, before you check these boxes, we need to set up that org-wide email address. So this kind of logically makes sense that what we need to do here is go under setup, go under email, and look for the org-wide email address section. And then we create one. So I created one here called Salesforce Dreamin'. And you need to, it has to be an actual address behind it. And you need to verify that that address exists. You need to it sends you a link and you need to click the link, that sort of thing. So it says, Dear David Carnes, we've received the following request to add a Salesforce org-wide email address. So I click the link and then I get a confirmation that says the org-wide, thank you for verifying the org-wide email address. So once you've set that up, now we can go back to that setting page that I showed you and you could check the boxes and then your subscriptions will be sent from that centralized address. Does anyone use subscriptions very heavily? Okay, we've got a couple in the room, so this might be an option for you. Just going back a few further releases, you guys know that subscriptions were increased, the limit from 5 to 7 for all of us. So we had a hard limit of 5 before that limit was moved to 7. If you have a limited edition, I think it's 15. And that's not even really the true limit. If you use Slack, you can actually sign up for a whole boatload more subscriptions within Slack. I think Aaron Creer did a session on reporting in Slack yesterday. He might have talked about that. Okay, and this is what it looks like. You can just see the from email address. So it's really the label I'm using here at Salesforce Dreamin', and I have some throwaway address that I'm actually sending it from, but it appears in my inbox as from Salesforce Dreamin'. Okay, so this is probably the biggest topic in reporting, and probably the biggest change in years within Salesforce. The oldest screens, before a couple of releases ago, the oldest screens in Salesforce were the custom report type screens. Do you guys remember? And that's actually what reports looked like in 2006. So when you created reports in 2006, they were really, it was just butt ugly. That's what custom report types looked like until this overhaul. And why is this important? I don't know that there's any trailhead badge on custom report types, but it's, in my opinion, it's the most important topic for you to learn in reporting, for you to be confident with. That there are things we can only do in reporting if we first create a custom report type. So I don't want to have this be a lesson on custom report types, but I can't quite help, I can't understate enough or overstate, what's the expression? I can't say it strongly enough that this is a critical skill. So it's really the foundation for reporting. And what Salesforce has done is they've rebuilt this. So what does that mean? Well, before we get to that, just to reemphasize how important this is, there are superpowers within custom report types. One example, at some point in time, Salesforce got tired. They stopped adding standard report types. There are only about 75 of them. There have been about 75 of them for years. At some point, they stopped. And there's this long, long list of objects that we can't report on any other way unless somebody first creates a custom report type. So this is one of the reasons this is such an important topic. Another reason is that we can leverage left outer joins. And if you're not sure what that means, this is another really, really important thing to be comfortable with. So we have a standard report type here in the yellow, the top yellow box. It's accounts with assets. And I need you to know that if you use that standard report type to create a report, you'll never see an account that doesn't have an asset, right? So that's an equijoin. You'll see it. Assets that have accounts, accounts that have assets. You won't see any orphans on either way. Well, what Salesforce allows us to do with custom report types is we can, this bottom one here, I have accounts with or without assets. This is such an important concept, and we can only do it with custom report types. So this is a left outer join. You can see the diagram here, the are you smarter than a fifth grader sort of, give me all the A's, and if there are any associated B's, give me them too. But if there are no B's, still give me all the A's, right? That's what that's telling us. And we can only do that with a custom report type. There are a couple of other reasons that custom report types are super important, such as the ability to include up to 1,000 fields from up to 60 related objects. So like, right? Normally you think of reports as giving you up to 4 objects, but we can use the superpower to pull in fields from up to 60 additional objects. So Aaron, who spoke yesterday, and another gentleman, Evan Ponter, write a blog called reportforce.blog. If you aren't familiar with it, it's a wonderful resource. They've gone deep on these concepts of report types. Okay, so what has Salesforce changed? Well, they've given us list views for report types. I don't think this is perfect. I can't filter and say, show me all the report types based on this object, but I can do it based on, I can filter on names. So as long as I name the report types well, then I can filter and create list views. My Salesforce org is 18 years old, and we have hundreds of custom report types. And so the ability to create list views and sort of find the ones that I want to work with is super valuable. So Salesforce has cleaned up the creation of custom report types. The screens look a little nicer. They don't look so 2012. But you select what's the primary object, you give it a name, you write description, you determine if it's deployed or not. If it's in development, nobody can see it except other admins. If it's deployed, then people can actually use this report type. And then we get to this screen over here where we can relate up to 3 other child objects and determine if it's a left outer join, so an important screen. Where the big change came is in the next screen, where we can basically move things around, we can hide fields, we can set fields as default, we can create new sections. This is like a wonderful improvement to managing custom report types. And the most important thing, I had a cool audience with the product team a year before they started building this, and I said, you must make add lookup fields more prominent. This is the most powerful thing in a feature that's not well documented, right? I don't think there's any Trailhead module on how to create custom report types, but this feature right here is so powerful, the add lookup fields, because we can add up to 1,000 fields from up to 60 related objects and pull them in. Suddenly we can report on all kinds of stuff. So it's really game changing. And it's nice that they've given us a nice new interface for this. Okay, so you guys excited to go try report types? Good. I strongly recommend trying report types. And on the Dashboard Dojo site that I mentioned, we have multiple hands-on, how to create custom report types. Some of the screens look old, but the concepts are still there. Okay, so another feature that's come out in the last few releases is the ability to keep charts consistent with reordered report data. So this was kind of wonky for the first few years of Lightning. So Lightning's been out for over a decade, and Salesforce has worked very hard to recreate things in Lightning, but some things didn't quite work exactly the way you thought. And on a report, when we're adding a chart, we now have a checkbox that lets us sort report charts. And it's just that extra little bit of control of, I want the chart to look this particular way. And it just gives us a little bit of refinement on that. So let's actually go look and see what that looks like. So we're doing reordered report data. So if we look at, so that's legends. Here we go. So I've got this, it's a report on account locations, and then it's got, so different countries, and then the number of locations. And if I come up here and click on the chart, and then scroll down, I have 2 new checkboxes, and I'll talk about the other one in a second. But this one here, sort report charts, it's basically going to take the sort that you have here on these 2 grouped columns, and it's going to allow us to be very precise. So we'll watch that this will just move some things around. Now that may not be meaningful to you unless, like if you have something that it's showing you all of your open cases by case status, and you want it to appear a certain way, where the one's closest to close, or this on this side or on this side, we now have that ability to just have more control. Now, similarly, what Salesforce gave us is the ability to sort the chart legends. So we can sort them numerically or alphabetically, depending on the type of field that we're sorting on. So this is a new setting in the chart properties. It's just another checkbox here. It's this one here that says sort legend values. And when you add a chart to a report, you can put the legend on the right, or you can put it across the bottom. And sometimes it's absolutely the best place in the world to put it on the right. Well, this is your right over here. So let's say on a funnel, it makes a heck of a lot of sense to have your stages in line with the funnel striations, right? So you put that on the right. Whereas sometimes you're gonna, just because of space or other reasons, you're gonna put the legend across. So on this donut here, we have the legends across the bottom. And it can be helpful to sort those values. So let's go take a look. I've got a chart here, and this is on stage. Now stage is a pick list, and pick lists act a little weird with this, but let's see what it does. So if I come up to my chart, I scroll down, I have these sort legend values, and let's see, and it moved them around. Now, I can't quite make any sense over what this reordering of the stages is. It must have something to do, it's not alphabetical, it must have to do with pick lists have orders to them. So I picked a pick list field. It's probably not the best example for sorting this, but you know, am I gonna run out and sing from the mountaintops now that I'm here in Denver about this feature? No, but will it come in handy at some point to get something exactly the way I want it? Yes. So it's just something to keep in the back of our minds that it's available. Okay, and so we have the same feature available on dashboards. So it's available on stack bar, stack columns, lines, donuts, funnels, scatter plots. It again seems to struggle with pick lists. So I'll just show you this on a dashboard. And again, this is just for the legends that we're talking about. So you might ask the question, why do we care about the legend? Well, everything on your report or dashboard is important. Real estate is super important. You don't want any extraneous stuff. You don't want anything that's confusing to someone. So if I come in here and edit this, and I go in and edit one of these, and I scroll down, I have a checkbox here that says sort legend values. And I'm going to click update. And I'm going to undo it. Let's see if we get a change. I thought for this one that two of them moved, and I couldn't quite figure it out. Again, pick lists are probably not the right example to go with. Let's look at this one. So we might be able to see a change over here. I've got 3, 6, all the way up to 67, and I'm going to uncheck it and see if they did move where 10 moved up, and I can't quite explain the movement, but again, it may be something that saves your bacon. You get something, and you can just move on to the next thing. Okay, so we're in this cool era where we have ChatGPT, and we have Agentforce, and we have all these cool tools, and we're starting to see AI just pop up in all cool places. Now, you guys probably for years when you've written a formula, you know, if you're like me, you might, you know, have Googled, you know, looking for an example of a formula to start with so that you could modify and put in. Well, Salesforce wanted to give us a shortcut to that and embed directly into directly into the formula editor the ability to leverage Agentforce. So this is a paid part of a paid feature. So in my Salesforce org, we have Einstein 1 Sales Edition. So we've paid a little extra to have that capability, and we use it in different ways. But what it allows us to do is create row levels and summary formulas. And essentially, we're describing a calculation in simple terms, and it should give us something that's useful. Okay. And if you're interested in playing with this yourself, Salesforce now offers free dev orgs that have Data Cloud. They have the Salesforce Einstein enabled and Agentforce enabled, and that's what this QR code is here. You guys haven't seen those. If you want to just start playing with this stuff, it's available here. Now, what we can do is, the goal is that we can describe what we want, and if you're curious, do I have this in my org? Do you see to the right it says add summary formula, and there's the little 3 stars or diamonds, and then I have add row level formula and the 3 diamonds. That's telling you that AI can help you here. I have not had good luck with this. I don't know if any of you have had. My suggestion is to just keep it really simple. Like my first one, I was like, oh, I'm so excited to take this around the track, and I gave it something like, I want, quarter over quarter, and I want to see, these calculations, da 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 da, and it was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. So then I tried simpler and simpler and simpler stuff, and I gave it one. I said, calculate win ratio. I'm trying to use as few words as possible. And what it gave back is not something I'm proud of. Like, I wish I could tell Agentforce to never do this because it's wrong. Like, this is wrong. And I'm pretty particular about win ratio calculations, how they should be done. Like, I wish this was never in front of somebody. So I don't want to scare you off from using this. I just want you to be cautious. And like, I got frustrated and I started getting a little smarmy, and I'm like, all right, what's 2 plus 2? Something went wrong. Try rephrasing your request. I'm like, oh, geez. So I got one to work. It was pretty simple. I just wanted to do some simple math, and I wrote a thing about some simple math, and it gave me the formula to do the simple math. I had another one. What's the difference quarter over quarter for one sales? Now, we can do that with formulas. So create a report, group it by time, by quarter, and we can use formulas to do that. And it sort of fell asleep or something. I'm not sure what happened. So I need to, what's that? Yeah, I'm not really sure what that is. Have you had any more left? No? Okay. Okay. Anyway, all right. So I shouldn't have warned the trail runners. They keep sticking on the cable there. All right, let's talk about, yes. Copilot. To make updates, yeah. Okay, so just to recap that, she shared that she's had good luck with Copilot and just being aware to update field names so that they're in line with, right, because that's one of the things we need. We need to have some awareness when writing formulas to what the underlying fields are called. And ChatGPT does a good job as well. That's great. And I can't wait to come back next year or the year after and say, they've nailed it. This just makes your life easier. All right, so let's talk about reporting on Data Cloud. So Salesforce has been hard at work. What they're trying to do is recreate the ability to what we have with Lightning reports to work with Data Cloud. And what I've noticed is that the trend is the focus, they add a lot of the new cool features here first, because it's where they're spending their time. And what I want is more of them to come to Lightning reports and dashboards, just the standard reporting. But there is a page in help for if you are interested in Data Cloud reporting. There's a page in help, and Salesforce has done a nice job with this over the years. When Lightning came out, there was this long list of things that weren't ready yet in Lightning in help, and they're maintaining a similar list with Data Cloud reporting, what the limits and limitations are. So things that aren't available yet. Okay, so what can we do with reporting on Data Cloud? Well, they're working toward parity. The new features seem to be built here first. So one of them that's kind of cool and useful is the max min aggregates on dates. So we've been able to do, sums on accounts, max on account, min on account, or sorry, amounts, not account. We've been able to do, calculations like that, and to show what is the high number, the low number. Well, to be able to do it on dates is great. That thing I mentioned earlier called filter on aggregates, I can't wait to have that. So to be able to say, create a report of our sales by country, give me all the countries where we've had over 1 million in sales. I can't wait to be able to do that. So now that's available on Data Cloud reporting. The Gen AI formulas was available first on Data Cloud reporting. Something called Smart Totals, which is a new toggle down over here on the bottom right, which does something that the standard reporting doesn't do yet. Every now and then you get something that just shouldn't be totaled. It's in a summary column, but it doesn't make sense that it's summed up. It's just the nature of the number. So Salesforce has added something called Smart Total to help solve that. And then in the Winter 26 release, we're going from 3 groupings on a report to up to 10. Like that's hardcore to go from 3 to 10. So that's exciting. And I'm hopeful that it'll come over to the Lightning report side. Okay, so the last couple of things are from the Winter 26 release. So it's not live yet, but the pre-release orgs are available now. You'll start seeing, I think, is it next month? In your sandboxes, you'll start seeing these features, and then they'll go live sometime. I'm guessing it's October. Anybody know? I didn't look at what the dates are, but so we now have the ability, as with report charts, we can add a reference line on dashboard charts, which is kind of cool. So if we jump in, I've got a Winter 26 org here, and there's a bunch of settings in here. So some of them I'm going to talk about in a second that you have to turn on the beta. For this feature, we don't have to turn anything on. It's just available. And if I go to a report, let's go on this side. Let's go take a look. So I have a report created, and what I'm going to do is just go add a widget to a dashboard. I'm going to choose chart or table. And actually, this is a different one. So what did I do? Oh, that's funny. It looks like I didn't create one. Huh. Okay, you'll just have to trust me. This is a screenshot. I must not have saved it. You just have to trust me that this is available. So what do we have when you go edit the settings on the widget? We have a checkbox that says show reference line. You can say what the number is. You can change the color. Millions of colors are available. And you can throw that line in there. So we've had that on report charts for years. This is now available on dashboard charts. I mentioned earlier that Translation Workbench now supports relabeling reports and dashboard tabs and some of the other report and dashboard metadata tags for different languages. Does anyone use Translation Workbench? Okay. What languages do you work with? Cool. Okay. Do you like working with Translation Workbench? You know, when it came out, as far as like different admin type experiences, I thought they did a nice job with this. Like it's not too complicated, and I can very quickly come up with different language sets and override things, and I just think they did a nice job. One other thing with it to share is that you can have, if Umberto in your Mexico City office, you want him to translate for you, you can actually designate him. He's like a mini admin just for the translation of that language set. So I think Translation Workbench has been around for a while. It's useful when you need it, and we can now relabel the metadata for reports and dashboards. So that's in the Winter 26 release. So it's not available yet, but it's available with the new release. Yeah. Nope, this is all stuff. Yeah, sorry, that's a good point. So another feature that's coming out is the ability to pull report settings into a new dashboard table. Right now it's a beta feature. So in Winter 26, it's a checkbox to turn it on. So under setup, setup feature settings, reports and dashboards, report and dashboard settings, there's a checkbox here. It says apply report settings to dashboard tables. And I wasn't like waiting around for this, but it's kind of nice. Right? If you sort of get the organization on a report the way you want it, and you want to add a lightning table to a dashboard, this will pull in those settings. So what they've given us is a checkbox that says use table settings from report, and it'll just pull those in and set it up for you. Lightning tables are really, really powerful. So on a dashboard, you have 13 choices, right? We had 11, and then the Salesforce gave us 2 more, images and text. But lightning tables by far is the most powerful one. It's been based on the underlying report type, not on the report necessarily that you created. And what that means is you might create a report that has 6 columns on it, right? And when you go to create any one of the other widgets, it'll only give you the 6 columns. But when you create a lightning table, you have access to all the fields from the underlying custom report type, which is kind of cool. You can do groupings, you can do top 20 lists, top 100 lists, whatever. There's some really nice settings. You can do conditional formatting, conditional highlighting. I mean, you can add a summary row. So lightning tables are very powerful, and I'm glad that they've given this just one other way to more quickly add a lightning table. So I've got my demo work here. I've checked the box under the report and dashboard settings that says apply report settings to dashboard tables, so we're good to go. And if I come back here and I add the widget, add a chart or table, use report settings, so I named my report so I knew which one I'd pull. And, oh, okay, that's interesting. I wonder if it logged out. Let me just see if I can get this back. Or not. See if we can get this. Okay, here it is. So even before I choose from these 11 chart types, we're now calling them widgets, but the 11 widget types, there's the checkbox here, and if you check that, it'll just automatically set it to be a lightning table. Give you the preview here, but let's look at what that does. And it also grays out the other settings, because it's basically saying you're not gonna mess around with this. You're gonna use what the underlying report says. So let's see if, okay, I mean, that's a pretty significant table of information. It's grouped twice, grouped by fiscal period and grouped by opportunity stage. Lightning tables can show 10 columns, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 13. Ooh, I wonder if there's a change that wasn't documented. Ooh, that's fun. Cool. All right, so that's a beta feature. Again, it's a checkbox to turn it on in the Winter 26 release. And one other one that's a beta feature, if you're exporting fields of information that have things like equals and plus and minus signs, it's really around equal signs, and you're exporting them to Excel. Excel interprets that as a formula, right, if it has an equal sign. And there's now a way to disable formulas that are exported reports. So is this something that I was waiting around for? No, but is it going to come in handy? Sure, it's going to come in handy sometimes when exporting reports. So right now it requires a checkbox to turn on the beta, but I have a feeling that this will just be, when it goes generally available, you won't have to have a checkbox for it. So if any of you are doing a lot of exports and you have like non-traditional data that you're exporting, this may be valuable. Okay, so the last update I'll talk about, this has been a long list of updates, hasn't it? So it's kind of spanning 4 releases because I had the new stuff last night to tinker with. But if you have users who have accessibility needs, I actually almost missed this. And as I was hunting around, I was like, oh my gosh, they made significant changes to help people with disabilities see what's on the screen. So I'm assuming these are significant. I guess I should really ask somebody who is experiencing that how significant it is. But we can see, this is straight from a copy from the release notes. The report type details, side panel, and the modals and reports and dashboards now support up to 175% zoom on 1920 by 1080 resolution. On and on. Improved navigation for report list search, blah, blah, blah. So they've really tried to make some improvements. So I think this is always great. Okay, so we covered a bunch of stuff. And where did this stuff come from? The stuff came from these 4 release notes. So each time there's a new release, the new release notes come out. What I do is I jump over here and I have my release notes open, make it a little larger. And what I do is I scroll down under Analytics section, expand that, and I look under Reports and Dashboards. They have a separate section for Data Cloud reports. Sometimes they have another section for Unified Analytics, which is a feature called the Analytics tab, which I'm guessing nobody probably uses, but is actually kind of cool. Does anybody use the Analytics tab? Okay, no. No, but it has some cool stuff on it that's unique to that, and we can access reports and dashboards on that, on the Analytics tab. So Salesforce has a couple of sections where they'll list things out. So I'm looking at the reports and dashboards section and clicking on one, and I can see information here and just read through and decide, do I want to use this in my instance. Cool. Well, that's what I've got. Does anybody have a question? Oh, great question. So the question is, do we have a naming convention or a best practice for naming report types? I definitely want the primary object and secondary objects named. If you're pulling in using the lookup, add fields via related lookup, and you're pulling in fields from 60 objects, that won't work. But at least the primary object is something there. And you can identify whether it's a left out or join using with or without before the secondary object in the name. But you may even go more specific than that it's for the legal department, or it's for the accounting team, or it's for the West sales team. You may need to use some kind of naming like that. Yeah, great question. Any others? I think we're probably close to time. No, we have time for another question. Any more? Anybody excited to go try some new features? Okay, good. Well, great. All right, well, thanks, guys. Oh, we do have a question, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Just wondering if you have any suggestions for trainings on advanced reporting.
Ooh, trainings on advanced reporting. So I did host for 4 years. We met almost twice a month, this thing called Dashboard Dojo. And if you can put up with my voice for 45 minutes, there'd typically be 50 minutes or an hour, just take a topic. Many of them were hands-on. And for example, I did 3 sessions on formula writing and hands-on stuff. So hopefully, and it's dashboarddojo, dojo.com. And if you just click on the recordings section, all of that is there. As far as other things, I mentioned reportforce.blog. If you want advanced reporting topics, look on reportforce.blog. So Evan and Aaron have just done really cool thought leadership on it just kind of expands your mind with reporting. So I can't give a better reference than that. Does anyone have any other suggestions for advanced reporting? Anybody found useful stuff? Oh, she's already saying my book is useful. I think that's going to be a good Amazon reference. And believe it or not, the book, this kind of blows my mind. Came out in English on Amazon, and then a few months later, I'm like, ooh, it's available in Italian. How random is that? And then they told me, O'Reilly reached out and they said it's available in over 100 languages now because of AI. It's like, yeah. Anyway, all right. Yeah, okay, good, English. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your time at Mile High Dreaming.
Mile High Dreaming.